Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Brews. I am your host, Commander Claw, and this is where I bring you 5 cards for a commander that you're possibly looking to deck build. So this is just to get you started on the deck building process and to generate some ideas. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Far Fortune in Boss for 2 blue, 2 black, and a red. Rakdos Commander, excuse moi, 4/5 body, legendary creature, human mercenary. Awesome. Just taking a breath. Anyway, she has starter engines. If you don't know that mechanic by now by Aetherdrift, literally you need to deal damage on your turn to your opponents some way, somehow to increase your speed. So I'll read it. Starter engines. If you have no speed, it starts at 1. It increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. Max speed is 4. So you can do a bunch of burn spells or combat damage or other ways. Anyways, she says whenever you attack, Far Fortune deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then when you get max speed, if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 1 instead. So imagine having a bunch of permanents on the battlefield that can just ping a player and you're just dealing an additional 1. But anyways, feel like she's a decent, okay commander. Aggro, I would like to go wide to have other ways to deal damage. So let me get you some cards to start your deck building process. First of all, when you plan on building this deck, you need other cards that say start your engine, and preferably low CMC cards. So you can get the start your engine and max speed quicker and higher by the time you cast Far Fortune and Boss. So let me introduce you to the Gas Guzzler. For a black mana 2/1 Vampire Rogue, start your engines. This creature enters tapped, but once it reaches max speed, you can tap a black mana, sacrifice another creature or vehicle, draw a card. This is like blood rights on a creature. You sacrifice another creature or a vehicle to draw a card. Draw a card, draw a card. You can do that multiple times. Next up, we got Burnout Bastronaut for a red mana 1/1 Goblin Warrior. This is a very, very good card. Do not sleep on this card. It has Menace. That means it needs 2 blockers, and your opponents need 2 blockers to block it, minimum. It has Start Your Engines, but it also has tap 2 mana. This creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So that is the fire breathing technique, where you can give your creature +1/+0. Then once you reach max speed, this creature has double strike. Wow. All that for 1 mana? Imagine somebody doing a board wipe and you can just drop Burnout Bastronaut with haste and swing at an opponent with all that mana in a late game? Oh my gosh. Moving on to some more cards. So remember, this is an aggro commander. You're going to need to put cards on the battlefield quickly, tutor them, reanimate them, the entire assortments. This is Rakdos colors here. Kickoff celebrations on the left-hand side for 1 and a red, and this enchantment that has start your engines. Then it says when this enchantment enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. That's great. Then it has max speed. Sacrifice this enchantment. Creatures and vehicles you control gain haste until end of turn. So we're going to want to give our creatures haste at the right time. As this enchantment sits on the battlefield, waiting for its time to shine. Next up, we got Hour of Victory for 2 and a black enchantment. Start your engines. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token that can be used as an attack, sack fodder, or blocker. Not bad. Great, great. But it has max speed. For 1 and a black, sacrifice this enchantment. Search your library for a card, put it onto your hand, then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery. That's like a demonic tutor that is waiting to be used. And honestly, your opponents will be able to see it, but do they really want to waste a enchantment removal on Hour of Victory while you gather max speed? That is the question, and that's the reason why I like playing enchantments sometimes over other removal spells, if you know what I mean. I mean, those enchantments that have removal abilities. That's what I mean. All right, moving on to other damages, other sources of damage. So we got Pyrrhemia for 2 and 2 red. It's an enchantment. Old school card here, y'all. Old school card. At the beginning of the end step, if no creatures are on the battlefield, sacrifice Pyrrhemia. All you got to do is tap a red mana. Pyrrhemia deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. This is a very powerful card because you are able to control the board depending on how much mana you have and you control the life totals of each player. You can literally dictate how much life they're going to lose. Maybe it's one, maybe it's two, maybe it's three. It gives you the ability to play games. We're playing a game anyway. Next up, we got Impact Tremors for 1 and a red. It's an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control enters this enchantment, deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is a staple for all those creature tokens that go infinite. You put this on the battlefield, you deal 1 damage for each creature entering the battlefield. Why not deal more damage with Impact Tremors? Because if max speed is achieved with Far Fortune, you're doing 2 damage instead. Moving on to my favorite card. I love extra combat steps. They are able to win you games. I'm not going to talk about aggravated assault because it's not that new. Y'all should know what it does. But I am going to talk about Full Throttle. This card is very, very good. Worth the single purchase. For 4 and 2 red, it's a sorcery. After this main phase, there are 2 additional combat phases. At the beginning of each combat this turn, untap all creatures that attack this turn. So essentially on your turn, if you cast this, you get 3 attack phases. And this card is so good because it untaps all the creatures that attacked. So all you need to do is attack, and you can untap all those creatures. If you have a very beefy, powerful creature that survived the first combat, your opponents probably don't have a blocker to withstand the second and third wave of combat, which ultimately can win you the game. Now, moving on to cards you possibly have missed. Okay, we got the Lord of Pain for 3 black and a red, 5/5 human assassin legendary creature. If you haven't played against this bad boy, he is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. He has menace. Your opponents can't gain life. Whenever a player casts their first spell each turn, choose another target player. The Lord of Pain deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to the chosen player. So when he's paired up with Far Fortune, whatever damage he does is an additional 1 damage. Then let's not even add the damage multipliers that you probably already add to the deck, such as like Fiery Emancipation. So this guy gets out of hand. A very fun way to play with this commander is whenever a player casts their first spell each turn, you can tell that player, hey, I'll let you choose who you deal damage to, as long as that damage doesn't go to me. So that way you're just starting a damage war and players don't hit you for the time being until they like get a little salty. But moving on to the summary. So the Far Fortune End Boss, I really believe is a good card in the 99. It's just a nice, pinger, additional pinger effect for all your sources. Not bad. It is in Rakdos colors, so black and red has the opportunity to get an additional pinger, not just limited into red colors. I think the max speed ability is kind of underwhelming. Anyways, let me know if there's any other card suggestions for this commander in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. I'm your host, Commander Claw. Peace.